Hi friends, this is Cynthia Walker here at the Brickstore Museum today. I thought I'd do a video blog or a vlog entry about our victory gardens and how they're doing, frankly because it's a bit easier to show instead of write. And videos are a little bit more engaging than paragraphs full of vegetable chatter. So thought I'd just show you what's going on. Here's our first bed. As you can see, and it will be a theme this video, you can see that the major problem we're having right now is weeds. All in here, all these little green things are mostly weeds, and they certainly have sprung up over the past week. I think thanks to the rain and then the bright warm sunshine, the weeds have come back with a vengeance. So as in all my victory garden videos, I will put out a plea for volunteer help if you are not comfortable with coming back to the museum or coming inside, but you still do want to get out and do something. Helping us in the victory garden is a choice for you, whether you want to sit out in the sun and pick weeds, or if you would like to help us water. Again, watering takes about an hour and a half to make sure that the water gets down in. A lot of people make the mistake of watering a garden, at least for those of us who are beginners. You water a garden and it looks wet, but if you stick your finger down into the soil, you will notice that if you only watered it for about 5 minutes, a spot for about 5 minutes, it is not very wet at all, and the soil is still dry. So you really have to water it for quite a long amount of time to make sure the water gets down to the roots of the plant. So that being said, we have a variety of different rainbow Swiss chard here. So we have a yellow one. We have this tiny one that was growing at the same time as all of the other ones, but it's just shorter. Like I said, these ones are weeds, so we'll pull those out. And here's some more. Here's a gigantic one that's pink. There's another one that's purple that's coming up over there. So that'll be kind of colorful once they all come together. This is lettuce. We started that from seed, and then we got these as seedlings from a generous donor. So you can see the difference between starting lettuce about a month ago as seed, and then these ones we got as seedlings. So these ones are just about ready to be cut and harvested and brought to the food bank. This is one of two of our cucumber plants, which is finally growing pretty well. They struggled for a bit there, and like I said in one of my previous videos, we had 3 more, which all died right after we planted them in the ground. So we did plant another seed the other day, and that one's coming up pretty healthily. So hopefully we'll have 3 cucumber plants to be able to harvest from this summer, which is exciting. Next one, and again I'll remind you about the weeds, just ignore them for now. Oops. So here we have, these are big cabbages. Down the end we have broccoli, which I'll be the first to confess I've never seen broccoli growing in reality or in person. So here's a broccoli head that's growing, which is really cool to see. And then what's neat about this one is these, again, we got these from seed from a wonderful donor. And then these ones over here along this side of the box, we planted seeds. Or we started seeds in March and planted those here. So you can see how they're a bit behind, where these ones already have broccoli heads on them. These ones are still popping up a little bit. So it'll be nice to have 2 harvests of broccoli, which is what 1940s victory garden pamphlets actually suggest to do, so you don't harvest everything all at once and then your garden's empty. So these ones here in this row, you can't really see it very well because of all the leaves. These ones here are Brussels sprouts, and then we have our red cabbages here. So here we have carrots growing, which in my experience, I'm always frustrated with carrots because they grow so slowly, or seem to grow slowly compared to everything else. Especially the 2 other things in this garden, which is radishes, which have exploded, as well as the back, which are snap peas, which are just about ready to pop as well. So I'll make a note of this garden. It looks like a mess right now, but the reason is for that is because these are lupins, which have mostly gone by. You can still see we have a couple of flower tips coming out. But what they turn into are these basically seed pods, which you have to wait until they're all dried. This one's starting to get dried, so you can see it's brown in color instead of green. And then they drop their seeds and replant themselves for next year. So you kind of have to just wait for them to turn a little bit more ugly so they can reseed themselves for the next year. And then I wanted to give you an update on our raspberry plants. We originally had 5, 1 died, and then this one is starting to die. So we have 3 left. Again, we planted these from seedlings that I had got from a cutting from my own raspberry plant at home. So I had rooted them basically in glasses of water, and then once the roots were pretty strong, took them out and planted them here. So like I said, we had 5, we're down to 3, so we'll see if they survive and hold over until next year, and then hopefully we'll have some raspberries next year. As you can probably tell, patience is always needed in vegetable gardening. In this bed we have our tomatoes and our peppers. So as you can tell, the tomato cages are really full, so the tomatoes have pretty much exploded in this box, and then the peppers are really short comparatively. But what I was excited about was, you can see here's a pepper growing, and then this one, which is growing vertically, that's going to be a hot pepper. I can't remember what the title of it is. It's called a Hungarian yellow wax pepper. And then we have 2 more that haven't produced anything yet, so we'll see what happens. Another box that has exploded is this is spinach, which again we have to thin out. We did thin it out and now it's still exploded, so we have to do that again. And then beets have also exploded. Right down the middle you can see those little stalks there, and those are garlic that we did plant, but I know that you usually have to plant them in the fall to come up in the spring, so we'll see what happens there. Let's just make a quick pass over to our what we've been calling our native garden, or our indigenous garden. As I pass by, if anybody comes by and is familiar with our parking lot area, you might remember that we had a big basically a lilac tree that was overtaken by bittersweet. That last year we had the help of a local landscaping company to dig all of that up and get rid of it, because it wasn't savable. So what we've done now is plant, this is called Hollyhocks, which biannually basically, so every 2 years, it comes out with these gigantic flowers. We had it here in another spot a little while ago, and there are still seedlings that come up every once in a while in the middle of the lawn where we used to have it. So once you plant it, just know that it spreads everywhere. So these are little seedlings that are coming out from that as well. Finally, our shell beans are looking like they're doing pretty good. They're growing up, they're not looking so weak like they did before this. So we're excited to see that. And then this thing is our 3 pumpkin plants, which if you might remember, even just what seems like a week ago, they were about this small in that box. So that's 3 gigantic plants, and you can see the yellow flowers that are coming out. So all of those hopefully will be pumpkins sooner or later. And then these 2 boxes are the same, so we'll just look at one of them. But again, this is our corn in the middle. It's about 1.5 feet tall now. We have some beans that are growing, and luckily we planted them a little bit after we planted the corn, to be able to let the corn get to a certain height, and then the beans will start wrapping themselves around the corn stalks. And then we have our squash plants, which are absolutely huge now, kind of lining the sides. And you can see in the Three Sisters planting method why squash are planted because they're basically a ground cover because of how large their leaves are. So it protects against pests and keeps the soil moist and everything else in between. So that's helpful. And I just wanted to point out, because I spotted it from afar. Oops. Let's see if I can do it. So we have at least one squash starting to grow, which is very cool. I didn't expect that this early. So those are already coming out as well. And here's just another glimpse at our second Three Sisters garden. So everything else looks like it's doing well. Up against the wood paneling here are also some squash and some corn growing, but we planted that a little bit later. And like I said before, the thing that's overtaken us this week are quite literally weeds. So we need to get back on top of dealing with that. But again, I'll just, as we close out here, I'll repeat my our plea here at the museum that if you would like to volunteer but aren't quite comfortable with coming inside, we can certainly use your help here in the gardens. Just spend a day outside in the sun and help us keep these moving as they should, and help visitors enjoy the outdoors.